Hello, 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 and welcome to lesson 7.5 for Math 9. If you go and do a quick like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, then your crush will call you in the next 48 hours. If you don't, you're going to have a lifetime of bad luck. I don't know. My kid saw that on a YouTube video, and he wanted me to say it at the start of my YouTube video, so there you go. Today, what we're going to learn about is reflections. So just a reminder, what we've been doing this unit is we've been taking shapes, we've been making them bigger, we've been making them smaller, we've been moving them left, moving them right, moving them up, moving them down. Today, we're going to do reflections, which is just like mirroring an image. I think everybody knows what a reflection is, right? You look in a mirror, you see your own image back at you. We're going to be doing the same kind of thing. In math, it looks a little bit like these pictures of the bunnies right there. These bunnies are reflected. They're reflected because if you drew a line right down the middle, the bunny on the left is the exact same as the bunny on the right. It's just been flipped over to the other side of that blue line that I just drew. That's called a reflection. So in math, all we're doing is we're taking something and we're basically flipping it to the other side of a line. There's 3 different ways we do this. So we do it on a grid, usually about the x-axis or the y-axis. So we're going to be flipping it on the axes. And then sometimes we actually flip it on random lines on our grid, which I'll show you that too. Let's just jump right into it because I think that's the best way to do it. So let's talk about reflecting some points. It says plot the triangle with the following coordinates and reflect in the y-axis. Okay, that's important. Every question, if it's asking you to reflect something, should give you what you're reflecting around. In this case, it said reflect in the y-axis. So that means flip to the other side of the y-axis. I think the best way to do reflections is to draw them. So what they're asking us to do is they're asking us to take these points right here, put them on the grid, and then reflect them to the other side of the y-axis being right here. Oh boy, I'm drawing all over the place with my arm. That's what this question is saying. Take those points that I've circled in red and reflect it to the other side of the y-axis. The way in which we do this is we're going to take each one of these points. I'll start with point A, and we're going to plot them. So A would be at 2, 5. That means 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A is right there. Then we're going to take point B. We're going to draw it. Point B is at 2, 1. So that means we're going to be at 1, 2, and then 1. B is right there. And then we're going to do point C, which I'll do in green. Point C is at 5, 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1. That's point C. Perfect. We now have those points plotted. Our goal is to reflect them in the y-axis. So that means you have to draw a line at the y-axis, which I've done, that nice big blue line. And you're going to take each point and you're going to figure out how far away that point is from our y-axis. So for instance, point A is 1, 2 away. That means when I reflect it, it's going to become 1, 2 away. And A is now over there. And we call it A prime because we've moved it. That's how reflections work. You just figure out the distance away and you mirror it on the other side of the same distance. So if we looked at B, B is 1, 2 away. That means B prime should be 1, 2 away. That's B prime. And the exact same goes for C. If we took C, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means C prime should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is now C prime. Easy, right? That's exactly how reflections work. All you're doing is you're figuring out the distance you are away from what you want to reflect around and then do the same distance on the other side of that line. That's the best way I think to do reflections is with a picture, with images, because it's kind of clear cut. It's easy to count. It's the best way in my opinion. Sometimes you don't have pictures. Sometimes you just have points. So if we want to see what kind of rule we can create with points, we're going to look at our points and see how they've changed. A used to be at 2, 5. When we reflected it to the other side, it is now at -2, 5, right? It's now 2 to the left and then 5 up. If I look at B used to be at 2, 1. Now it's at -2, 1. If I look at C used to be at 5, 1. Now it's at -5, 1. So the trend and the trick that hopefully you notice is that when you're reflecting about the y-axis, the y values actually stay the exact same, and the x values become negative. So they all stayed the same number, but the x values switched from the right side to the left side. That means they went from positive to negative. And that can be a trick on reflecting in the y-axis. I still think the best way is with images and pictures and doing it that way. But hey, if you want to remember that reflecting on the y-axis means you just change the signs on the x values, sure, you can do that too. I want you to go ahead and try to plot D, E, and F on this picture over here, and then reflect them in the y-axis or about the y-axis. So pause, give B a try. Wonderful. Hopefully you paused and you gave it a try. When you gave it a try, I'm going to do color coding. So D was at 2, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. D was right there. E was at 4, 1. So 4 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 up. That's E. And F was at 7, 4. So that's 7 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 4 up. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's F. Your goal was to reflect these things about the y-axis. The y-axis is this right here. So your goal was to figure out where these lines now go on the other side of the y-axis. If I look at D is 1, 2 away from the y-axis. That means it should now be 1, 2 away. And D prime is over there. If I was to label the point for D prime, it's now at -2, 6. If I look at F was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 away. So now when I reflect it, it should still be 7, just the opposite side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that way. So that means F prime is over there, which we would say is at I moved F before E. That's okay. Which we would say is -7, 4. If we do E is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. That means when I reflect it, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4 away as well, giving me my new point of E prime, which is at -4, 1. That's all reflections are. Easy peasy, right? Okay, we're going to do reflecting in the x-axis. So it says plot the triangle with the following coordinates. Oh, did the other one say plot the triangle? Oh, it did. Huh. I didn't do a triangle. I just did the points. That's okay. I'll show you how to do it with a triangle. Example 2, plot the triangle in the following coordinates and reflect in the x-axis. Okay, this time what we want to be doing is reflecting to the opposite side of this line. So we're going to go from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top because we're reflecting in the x-axis, right? And that's key that they've changed it now. Beautiful. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to plot our points. We'll start with point A. It's at 2, 5. So that means 2 to the right, 5 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Point A is right there. Point B is at 2, 1. So that's 1, 2, and then 1. Point B is right there. And point C, actually, I'm going to just move point B to the other side. There you go. Point C is at 5, 1. So 5 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1 up. Point C is right there. This is a triangle because the question says it's a triangle, plot the triangle, and I didn't do that. So I'm going to plot the triangle right now. I did my corners like I just did before, and I'm connecting the dots to make a triangle. And our goal is to reflect that triangle about the x-axis. I'm going to do the same thing I did on the previous questions. I'm going to take each one of those points, and I'm going to figure out how far away they are from where I'm reflecting. So for instance, if I look at point A, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away from my point that I'm going to be reflecting it. That means when I reflect it, it should become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. So A prime is now there because it's a reflection, right? It's the same distance away from my line. I'm going to do that with the same points. So I'm now going to do the same thing with B. B is 1 point away. That means B prime should also be 1 point away. And the same rule goes for C. C is 1 away. That means when I reflect it, it should be 1 away. So C prime is right there. And then just like I did before, I'm going to connect my dots to make my beautiful little triangle. And I have now successfully translated my triangle from one side to the other side. This time about the x-axis instead of the y-axis. And again, the reason I'm doing x-axis is because it says x-axis up there. Cool. I want you to try B on your own. So pause the video, see if you can draw that triangle, and then see if you can reflect it. Okay, hopefully you've tried this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plot all those points. So D is at 2, 6. That should have been 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. D should be right there. E. E is at 4, 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. E is right there. And F. F is at 7, 4. So 7 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 4 up. 1, 2, 3, 4. F is right there. My goal is to reflect them about the x-axis. The x-axis is this line right here. To reflect something, all I have to do is figure out how far away that thing is from my line I just drew. For instance, D is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away. That means D prime should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away. That's where D prime should be. I'm going to do the same thing with E and F. So E should be 1 away. So now it's 1 away right here. So E prime is there. F is 4 away, so it should be 1, 2, 3, 4 away down here. And again, it is triangles. So when you did this, you should have connected the dots like that to make your triangle. And now that I've reflected the points, I just draw my triangle again. And you'll notice it's still the same triangle. It's just flipped to the other side of that blue line. If you wanted to write the coordinates for each one of those points, the coordinates are just the same thing, but with the x or the y value reversed. This time it's the y value because I didn't change from right to left. I changed from up to down. So this would be 7, -4, 4, -1, 2, -6. The y values all changed. The same thing would happen with the first question. It would become 2, -5 because I switched to the other side of the y values. This would become 2, -1, 5, -1. That's doing a reflection about the x-axis. Awesome. Example number 3. We're going to try again. So I want you to take those 3 points, plot them, and then I want you to do 2 different reflections. So we're going to reflect on the x-axis, then reflect on the y-axis. When you do the x-axis, we're going to call it A prime. When you reflect about the y-axis, it becomes A double prime. Do these questions separately. Okay, so I'm going to reflect about the x-axis, then reflect about the y-axis. Awesome. Good luck. Hopefully you tried this. So I'm going to do point A. Point A is at -2, so 2 to the left, and then -3. 1, 2, 3. Point A is right there. Point B. Point B is 3 to the left, 7 down. So, 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3, and then 7 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Point B is right there. Point C is at, I need a color. 4, 1. So 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. -1 means 1 down. That's where point C is. Beautiful. We're going to do part B first. It says reflect the image in the x-axis. So to reflect in the x-axis, that means I want to flip to the other side of the x-axis. When I'm doing that and I look at point A would go from there to 1, 2, I'm still on my shapes. It would go 1, 2, 3 away to 1, 2, 3 away. So A prime is now there. I can do the same thing for C and B. B is 7 away, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 away. So I need to go 7 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 away. So B prime is now up there. And C, if I look, is 1 away. That means C prime should be 1 away, like that. If I was to list the coordinates of those new ones, A prime is now at -2, +3. B prime is now at 3, 7. And C prime is now at 4, 1. If you look, when I reflected in the x-axis, the x-coordinate does not change, right? The x-coordinates all stayed the same. The y values are what changed. They all changed their symbol. But the x-coordinates don't change when I'm reflecting about the x-axis. Cool, let's try to reflect those things about the y-axis now. So to reflect about the y-axis, that means I want to flip it to the other side of this line right here. I'm going to just keep going. So I'm going to take A prime and I'm going to move it over. So I'm going to reflect A prime to the other side. It's 1, 2 away. That means I should be 1, 2 away. This is now A double prime. And I'm going to do the same thing for B double prime and the same thing for C double prime. So if I look at B prime, it is 1, 2, 3 away. That means B double prime should be 1, 2, 3 away as well. Give me B double prime up here. And if I wanted to do C prime is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. It should now be 1, 2, 3, 4 away. That's C double prime. If I wanted to write out the coordinate points, now because I've reflected about the y-axis, the x values are going to be what change, and the y values are going to stay the same. So to fill in our blank, it says when reflecting in the y-axis, the y value does not change. And you'll notice that my y values did not change when I reflected in the y-axis. The x values did, though. The x values went from positive to negative. Okay, that's like the majority of what we do. It does get a little bit harder. So this example 4 is a little bit different because now we're not going to reflect about the axes. We're going to reflect about whatever it gives you. So for instance, this first question says plot the quadrilateral, so that's the four-sided shape, with the following coordinates and reflect over the line x equals -1. To do that, you need to figure out where on your graph x equals -1. These are your y values, right? Up and down. These are your x values, left to right. X equals -1 right there. And if we're doing a reflection, that means we need to reflect about the line that goes through x equals -1. That line I just drew, is x equals -1. That's all the spots that would have an x value of -1. So this is x equals -1. Now when I go to do my reflections, instead of reflecting about a line that was one of my axes, I'm just going to reflect over that line I just created at x equals -1. I'm going to do all these points. So let's start with A is at 2, 3. So 2 to the right, 3 up, 1, 2, 3. A is right here. If I look at B, B is at 6, 3. So 6 to the right, 1, 2. Oh, sorry. I messed up on A. A is 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Hopefully I didn't mess up on any of the other questions writing out my dots. But I definitely messed up that one. B is 6 to the right and then 3 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 3 up. 1, 2, 3. There we go. That's part B. If I want to do C, let's do orange. C is at 6, 7. So that would be 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. B would be right there. Oh, sorry, C. And D would be at 2, 7, which is right here. That's D. This is a quadrilateral. That means a four-sided shape. So my four-sided shape is just by connecting the dots. And you can probably tell already, this is going to be my four-sided shape. I didn't want that color. I wanted a different color. Let's do yellow. And let's do not so big. Perfect. My four-sided shape is right here. That is my original four-sided shape. I got that by doing the original 4 points. Now I want to reflect it over the line x equals -1. Right? That's my goal. To do that, I need to figure out the distance that each one of these points is away from my line. So for instance, D is 1, 2, 3 away. That means D prime is going to be 1, 2, 3 away. It's going to be over there. That is now D prime. If I do the rest, so C prime in orange, C prime is 8 away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, no, it's 7 away. That means I should be 7 the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is where C prime would be. If I look at A is 1, 2, 3 away. That means A prime should be 1, 2, 3 away. A prime should be right there. And B is 7 away, so it should also be 7 away. B should be down here now, B prime. And if I want to create my box again, I'm just going to connect my dots. And you'll see that what we've done is we've reflected that box from the right side to the left side about the line x equals -1. So it didn't reflect around the x-axis. The distance is now away from x equals -1. Cool. If you want to try A, oh, it says A. That should say B. If you want to try part B on your own, go ahead and give it a shot. First, you have to be able to figure out where y equals 2 is. I want you to try that just to make sure you have the right line that you're reflecting, and then check in with me and make sure you're doing the rest of the question right. So go ahead, try to figure out where y equals 2. Hopefully you paused. Y equals 2 is right here. I'm going to do it in a big line. So y equals 2 is a horizontal line right there. We talked about this in a previous unit, but when you have x equals, it's always a vertical line up and down. When you have y equals, is a horizontal line. Like that. Okay, I want you to try to plot all 4 of these points, A, B, C, and D. And I want you to try to reflect it about that line we just created at y equals 2. So go ahead, pause, and try your best. Cool. Hopefully you paused and tried that. I'm going to start going through them. So A is at 1, 0, so that's 1 to the right, and then 0 up. A is right there. B. B is 5 to the right, 0 up. Sorry, I wanted to do that in green. 5 to the right, 0 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. B is right there. C is at 1 to the right, -4 down. So 1 to the right, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. That is where C is. And D is 5 to the right, and then 4 down. 5 to the right, 4 down is right there. If you want to make that into a quadrilateral, which just means a four-sided shape, my quadrilateral would look like this. We now want to reflect it to the other side of that blue line that we created. That blue line, just as a reminder, is y equals 2. So we're going to reflect it to the other side of that. To do that, I'm going to reflect every one of the points. So A is 2 away. A prime should now be 2 away. B was 2 away. B prime should now be 2 away, but above. D is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away. D prime should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away. And the last one that we're going to do is C. So if C was 6 away, then C prime should also be 6 away up here. I then can create my beautiful little box, my quadrilateral. Quadrilateral meaning four-sided shape. I have now properly reflected. Awesome. There's one last question down here. We're now going to try to draw the lines of reflection. To figure out where the line of reflection is, all you need to do is figure out what's halfway in between the images. So if I look at these two diamonds, I notice that, hey, these 2 points seem to be correlated. Halfway in between them, 1, 2, 3, 4. Halfway in between would be 2 and 2. That means this is my halfway point. If I wanted to figure out that line, I'm going to actually draw it. This is my point or my line that I'm reflecting about, my line of reflection. To write that properly, because it's a vertical line, I know it's x equals, and in this case it's x equals 2 because that is 1, 2 away from the origin. So that's my line of reflection, x equals 2. We'll try another one to the right. So all you need to do is try to figure out what's halfway in between those two images. I'm going to take 2 corners that seem to correlate with each other and then try to figure out halfway in between them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total. That means 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 would be perfectly in between them. If I was to draw that, that means my line looks like this. That is my line of reflection. To write that out, because it's a horizontal line, I know it's y equals, and in this case, it's y equals -1. Because if I look at my y coordinate or my line, it's 1 away from my origin. Right? That's all the spots where I have a y equals -1 value. Wonderful. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe my YouTube channel. You want your crush to text you. It's a pretty big deal. So make sure you get on that. Take care of yourselves. Go practice some reflections.